Can I have a rotated microphone? Good afternoon. Today, I want to analyze the behavior of one patient. I made this analysis based on objective external signs. If we take this patient to our clinic, we will be able to collect all the necessary tests and conduct a full examination for his further treatment. I want to analyze together with you what we see point by point and give it my expert assessment. Ukrainian professionals, doctors specializing in such patients, they have long been diagnosed with drug addiction. In the study in narrow circles. In this case, we are dealing with cocaine. Sooner or later, organic disease goes to the stage when it becomes obvious to everyone noticeably. In this case, according to external signs, we clearly see the consequences of cocaine, that is, cocaine addiction. First of all, this can be seen by behavioral signs. We can pay attention to the fact that the patient regularly rubs his nose. This is a reaction of chemical irritation of the nasal mucosa. We observe a patient with reactive hyperemia of the nasal mucosa, which is caused by persistent rhinitis. 95% of cases, this indicates the use of narcotic substances by patients through the nose. The so-called insufflation. This is how cocaine enters the body. Therefore, drug addicts have a habit of rubbing the tip of their nose, touching it regularly, correcting something. This is due to erosions that have formed in the patient's nasal cavity due to long-term systematic use of narcotic substances. The next sign of cocaine use is a change in voice. The voice may become squeaky or hooked. In this case, the voice became hoarse, and in addition, the patient was noticed coloring. He will give us a quarter of those Wagners. And you live with a Ukrainian passport. A problem with nasal suffocation of cocaine. It enters the nasopharynx and causes irritation of the delicate mucous membrane of the trachea and bronchi. Because of this, the patient will have the same coloring, and we can observe our patient. Quite respect. In addition, these are signs of long-term cocaine use. Cocaine is used to stimulate the central nervous system. At the same time, it causes subjectively pleasant sensations for the patient associated with euphoria, increased own capabilities, improved attention, memory functions, such bouts of activity and cheerfulness appear. He can stay up for a long time, be included in work processes. But with the development of drug addiction, this euphoric effect is completely leveled. The story of the floor. And we do not give up here such a situation, that constant apathetic depression with anhedonia, that is, the inability to have fun, becomes a common occurrence for the patient. The creative activity that previously arose against the background of critical intoxication is already changing to complete apathy, inaction. But since the effect of the drug does not last for such a long time, it must be maintained, otherwise apathy will replace euphoria. Over time, you have to increase the dose, which does not pass without a trace for your body, and behavioral reactions. Yes, then I do not know. We have V.S. in Ukraine today. What did he say? I'm bragging. Somatic changes that occur in cocaine addicts, presented in the form of perforation of the nasal septum, which we talked about earlier, trigeminal neuritis, accompanied by pain. He can say that there is a zero in me too. The Verkhovna Rada will not pretend to the RBO, taking the sumniv from the point of view of legality, is the constitutivity of the decision, and the Swedes are not obhidny reform courts. Maybe it will bother you. And I want to pay special attention to the gestures of the patient. In a particular case, we can observe restlessness, justice. The patient regularly touches his eyebrows, adjusts his hair, licks and bites his lips, runs his fingers over the face of the eye. My risks are visible. These are obsessive movements. They are observed in patients with cocaine addiction. Cocaine use is also expressed in the deterioration of memory and thinking function. The patient regularly stumbles, forgets what he should know well. Ours is still with us Rakuyud all. We can say that the patient freezes, that is, the thought processes slow down. This is a sign of cocaine withdrawal. In the end, the patient breaks down on others. Until the day of independence, we have not raised the summer and the show in the family. Are we whole or are they flying? We will bomb everyone. Begins to act aggressively. Yaroslav Mikhailovich, what are you? Nikolaevich, you get out of here. Get out of here. Break you. Can't you smell me? I ask you, if you go out, there will be people sitting and shouting at the administration. That's all for me. Cocaine withdrawal also causes dystonia. For the final confirmation of these observations, further studies of abriogenic amines are necessary. Withdrawal syndrome in cocaine addiction, as a rule, is usually represented by states of severe dysphoria, with signs of chronic irritability and affective outbursts. In this state, patients are in constant and causeless anxiety and depressed mood. Frequent delusional statements that we can observe in this patient. You all know that. You lived. Yes, you have been living for a long time. And I'm Trisheki having lived. It is the withdrawal syndrome that explains the inadequate statements of our patient. Licenses. Licenses. I have already sorted out, I remind you, the skikiraki in that area. There are also many such programs. Separately, it is worth paying attention to the patient's eyes. Bilateral optical neuropathy with a decrease in visual activity and swelling of the optic nerve may occur due to stylistic sinusitis. Swelling of the optical disc, optical atrophy, apparent Foster-Kennedy syndrome, and visual field disturbances are primarily caused by inhalation of cocaine through the nasal cavity. As for the patient's speech, it is confused, sometimes even inhibited, exactly what I'm talking about. In some cases, we may notice that the patient's speech is unproductive, special iterations, in other words, repetition of the same phrase. This indicates the real stage of drug addiction, respectively, and the fact that the patient takes cocaine mixtures can be said as a fact. You know, I think I'm on the spot. We presented a ready-made road, and it was from the 75th. And there was a similar torture right there. We presented the road, I remind you, at discounts. Our failure on it has been Ukraine itself on the cob since the 90s. And what do we have as a result? I have listed above the signs that indicate the patient's drug addiction. According to the primary signs, it can be said that the patient uses cocaine for a long period. In order to confirm our findings, a clinical examination of patients is necessary. I hid my face with putty, first of all, because the danger of coronavirus is very high now and naturally. I urge everyone to protect ourselves, protect our loved ones and everyone's health, and not get sick. But the second reason why I did it is the danger that arises from the prosecution of the SBU, some elements of our patient. Revenge. And that's why I want to stay in the shadows for now. But I am a Ukrainian, and I am very rooting for our country. I want us to live the way we expect when we elect a president every time. And I want to say there is no pony manger on our Renemo shack in the village. So here we are, our people and the manger are empty, and the patient is all health, kindness, and to be sick.